My best friend slept with my abusive ex and tried to ruin my life online, so I cut her off for good. 2 years later, she came crawling back after he turned on her too. I spent Thanksgiving crying my eyes out while cooking chicken nuggets in McDonald's. You see, I had volunteered to cover a shift because I'd gone no contact with my family, and Tyrese, my only friend at the time, was hanging out with his dad. Tyrese knew I was crying though. When he asked to FaceTime, I refused to turn my camera on, but my voice still trembled with each word. The fluorescent lights of the kitchen made everything look harsh and unforgiving as I stood there, the smell of frying oil clinging to my uniform and hair. Every few minutes, I'd wipe my tears with the back of my hand, careful not to let my manager see me breaking down during the holiday rush. That's why he invited me to hang out with his friends afterward. I remember the exact moment he suggested it. I was sitting in my car in the empty McDonald's parking lot, the engine running just for the heat, watching families through the windows of nearby restaurants, all laughing and celebrating together. The invitation felt like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning. None of them seemed to be aroused pieces of poop, which is rare for the male species, and they actually seemed like they genuinely liked each other. I could tell from the way they playfully shoved each other when I first walked into the diner, their easy laughter filling the space. The restaurant was one of those 24-hour places with vinyl booths and laminated menus that had seen better days. Christmas lights had been strung up around the windows, casting everything in a soft, multicolored glow. There was just one thing. There was only one other girl. Now, I'm usually a girl's girl, the type to insist on going to the bathroom together even if I don't need to use it, the type to take photos when I think someone looks good, from 100 different angles. I've always believed in women supporting women, especially in groups dominated by guys, so I automatically treated Vanessa as if she was my friend, gave her a huge hug, my arms wrapping around her slender frame as if we'd known each other forever, told her I'd pay for her meal, and defended her whenever Tyrese or the other guys made fun of her. The diner smelled like maple syrup and coffee, and the jukebox in the corner was playing some old 80s song that made the whole scene feel like something out of a movie. I slid into the booth next to Vanessa, our shoulders touching, ready to form that instant female bond. I thought she was going to return the favor, or at least be somewhat nice to me, but apparently little Miss Vanessa had other plans. Halfway through the meal, I waved down the waitress so I could order an extra side dish. My stomach was growling after the long shift at McDonald's, and the plate of fries I'd ordered hadn't been enough to satisfy my hunger. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a kind smile, had just pulled out her notepad when Vanessa spoke up. "I really don't think you need to eat all that," Vanessa said while laughing, her voice dripping with fake concern. My face flushed with heat, and no one reacted. The waitress's pen hovered over her pad, her eyes darting between us uncertainly. The conversation at the table didn't even pause. The guys were deep in a discussion about some video game, oblivious to what had just happened. But instead of giving up, she doubled down. "You heard? I said I don't think you need to eat all that." Her voice cut through the diner noise like a knife, loud enough that a couple at a nearby table glanced over with curious expressions. Tyrese looked up from his plate and did a half smile. The rest of the table laughed briefly before going back to eating. I just stared at her blankly, the humiliation burning in my chest. The waitress mumbled something about coming back later and hurried away, leaving me sitting there with my cheeks on fire and my appetite suddenly gone. But I didn't have any female friends at the time, and I know how hard it is to find good ones. The loneliness of the past few months had been crushing, eating lunch alone at work, spending weekends by myself in my tiny apartment, with only Netflix and my houseplants for company. So instead of distancing myself from her, I followed the law of reciprocity. I decided that maybe she was just having a bad day, or perhaps her sense of humor was different from mine. Maybe if I showed her kindness, she'd warm up to me. The next time we all met up, I showed up with her favorite box of Dubai chocolate that she had mentioned the last time, the expensive kind with gold flakes on top. I'd spent nearly an hour at the specialty store picking it out, making sure it was exactly the one she'd described. The box was wrapped in elegant gold paper, and I'd even added a small card with her name on it. I handed it